Hello ladies and gentlemen, and welcome back to my channel for another ZD Toys Iron Man figure unboxing and review video. And yes, today is finally the day we're taking a look at none other than the Mark 1, the OG suit that, yes, Tony built in a cave that started off the entire MCU. So yeah, I'm just a little bit excited. Now, I got mine from toyswonderland.com. Link for that is down in the description below. They do have 12-month installment plans and an awesome reward system. What we are going to do now though is get the box laying flat in the light box and do the unboxing. Here of course we have the box art. Now it is largely very similar to the other ZD Toys Iron Man releases. If you've seen my videos, if you own these figures for yourself, then you know exactly what to expect here. You do have a shot of the Mark 1 on the front, plus another one silhouetted into the background. Now the entire thing is covered in this metallic finish and it looks really darn awesome. Iron Man on the side, another shot of the figure, and a bunch more product shots on the back. And yeah, you can see this thing is suitably metallic. Now, unlike how they usually do it, we don't have a massive portrait style shot of the figure himself, but we do have that on the inside. And yes, once again, it's covered in that metallic style finish. But we aren't really here to dissect the box, we're more here to look at the figure himself. And judging by how much I've loved the rest of the figures in the line, yeah, I cannot wait to get this guy out here. First in-hand impressions are largely pretty positive. There's already one thing though that I'm noticing I'm potentially not going to be a huge fan of, but we'll touch on that a little bit later in the video. Now, as you can see, he does come with one tray down below, so what we are going to do now is get all of his accessories laid out in the light box and take a closer look at everything he comes with. Here we have all the parts and pieces that go with the Mark 1. Now, starting off with the display base first, it's the usual ZD Toys style. Iron Man printed on the top, as well as Mark 1. It's translucent, it's hexagonal, and it's not overly chunky. It's simple, yet very effective. You do have a flight stand arm up the top with multiple different moving joints on both ends. Now, in order to attach the figure to the display base, you have multiple different choices. You can either go with a crotch grabber, you can go with a waist grabber, or you can remove these arms, combine them with the crotch grabber to create the ultimate grabber. It's entirely up to you, and I do like that you have multiple different options. Now, you also get this piece packaged separately in the box. It's the mess of various parts and pieces that you strap to the Mark 1's back. It's got this little rotary piece here that will be whirring around. You've got multiple different sections that have been painted, and it's done in this metallic gunmetal plastic. It's not potentially as dirtied up and well painted as I would have liked, but still, it's more than enough and it gets the job done rather nicely. You also get two flamethrower effects. Unfortunately, you don't get any alternate hands or any flight effect pieces for the feet, so it is rather slim pickings here, but if there were any effect pieces that the Mark 1 absolutely had to come with, it would be these, so I'm super glad they gave him two. They are relatively basic, but I do like the gradient effect, how it starts off a nice deep, fiery orange, then it blends into a much lighter yellow. Yeah, these are awesome, and I absolutely will be displaying my Mark 1 using these effects, and don't worry, you will see them on him throughout the course of the video. What we are going to do now though is get the Mark 1 himself out here and take a closer look. Here we have him standing straight up and down in the light box, no crazy poses or accessories or anything like that. And yeah, I'm really happy here. He's not perfect, there's stuff that absolutely we do need to discuss in the very next clip, but let's just admire how good he looks standing there. The proportions are awesome. He's big, he's bulky, he looks a little bit goofy and robotic in terms of the stance, but that's exactly like how he looked in the movie. So they've captured him flawlessly. The sculpt work, the paint applications, this guy is a feast for the eyes. There's a lot going on here. So yeah, I'm absolutely enamored with the work that ZD Toys have put in. I cannot say enough good things about the way this guy looks. But the way he moves is something that we do need to discuss. So what we are going to do now is take him off the rotating turntable, punch in, and take a closer look at the details. Here we have him up close and personal. Now let's be honest, at this point we're no strangers to a good ZD Toys Iron Man release. They've done pretty much a flawless job capturing a smaller scale version of Iron Man at a relatively decent price tag since they picked up the license. Can the same thing be said for the Mark 1? Unfortunately, in some regards, no, but in others, yes. Don't worry, we will touch on the pros and cons in just a second. Now, the Iron Man Mark 1 is a very interesting suit in the way it's designed. It basically is a bunch of parts and panels over the top of Tony, which you're supposed to be able to see underneath. They've done a pretty good job of conveying that depth here. You can see the welding jacket that he's wearing underneath the suit, and also the black pants. There is texture to the material. You can see the shoes down below underneath the armor plates. None of this is removable, by the way, but I do like the attention to detail, specifically with the texture on the fabric. It looks like how you would expect fully sculpted fabric to look. It's all pretty much perfectly painted as well. Speaking about the paint, it's absolutely one of the highlights here. It's metallic. There's wear and tear where there needs to be. There's dirt and grime. There's pitting. There's weathering. This thing looks absolutely gorgeous. It looks and feels a lot more expensive than it actually is, and that's one of the most recurring comments that I've seen in my ZD Toys reviews, is that for the quality, you'd expect a much higher price tag, so people are suitably impressed, as am I. The same thing can be said for the sculpt work. There's pretty much not a single panel that is symmetrical with the other side. There are a bunch of different parts and pieces that have been welded, that have been riveted, that have been placed over the top of other panels, and you can both see and feel the depth. Also, that piece that you saw earlier very nicely pegs into the back, and it pegs in multiple spots, so it won't be going anywhere. There's also some dry brushing on the surface just to bring out even more texture. So from the looks department, yeah, this guy is absolutely awesome. However, there is one thing which is kind of throwing me off, and it's the eyes. In the Mark 1, you could absolutely see Tony's face through those eye holes. He didn't have the heads-up display, he didn't have any visors or anything like that, so these should not be silver. At the very least, they should have been painted black. It's an easy fix, it's something I'm willing to do, but if they weren't going to put Tony's face behind the helmet, which is what they should have done, then some black paint would have been an easy fix. Also, the arc reactor. They may be doing an LED version down the line, who knows, but for now it literally looks like the suit is off. It's great for those of you who want to put this in a Hall of Armor perhaps, but for me I want it to be the actual suit in the display, so I would have preferred either an LED right off the bat for the first release, or at the very least paint it to look like it's fully illuminated, because everything else looks spectacular. You even have little hidden details, like these little piston pieces in the back that have been painted red, that you would pretty much never even see. So I'm glad that they've spared no expense when it comes to the sculpt and the paint applications, but what you will see a little bit later is they absolutely used less parts in terms of the body itself, so the articulation is a little bit more limited. Now for a quick side-by-side comparison, here we have the Marks 1 through 7 all made by ZD Toys, and don't they just look glorious standing together. This is exactly what I had in mind when ZD Toys said, yeah, we're gonna do all 7 suits and we're gonna release them in a pretty timely manner, which they have done. They've kept their promise. This guy is the final one in this lineup, and to be honest, I just can't wait to get the LED versions of all of these suits, because so far, the simple plug-in light-up effect that has one switch to activate it, it's been fantastic, and I reckon the Mark 1 will look even more awesome with that arc reactor fully lit up. But so far, yes, I'm loving the line. It's not 100% perfect, there's stuff that I wouldn't mind if they'd worked a little bit longer on and changed here and there, but for the most part, yes, I do absolutely recommend the ZD Toys lineup. Just going over articulation. Now bear in mind this is my personal copy of the figure, so I'm going to be a little bit more careful. I'm sure when you get yours in hand, you can push the joints a little bit further than I personally am willing to go. Now unfortunately, this figure, while it packs in a ton of awesome sculpted in detail, it does suffer when it comes to articulation, and I think you will find that, yeah, some poses that you maybe were intending to pull off might just be a little bit more difficult. Now starting off with the head sculpt, it is on a ball joint, but due to the way it's sculpted with the front and back kind of coming down over the neck, it's rather limited. Forward and back to there, swivel, and a teeny amount of pivot side to side. The arms will go up to about there before this hard plastic shoulder pad starts colliding with the body. They will of course go forward and back. There is no butterfly joint and no swivel in the entirety of the arm. You do have a single bend at the elbow, and luckily these panels do tuck in under these pieces, but still it's relatively restricted to under 90. For the fists you really don't have anything because it's kind of tucked on the inside there, and as far as I can tell there is no joint. The torso also has no movement whatsoever, side to side or forward and back. The legs do go forward to about there, they will go out to there. There is a swivel at the upper thigh, a single bend at the knee there. I don't know why that's not a double. Maybe because this track piece has to connect to this lower leg, but still I think it could have bent a little bit further. Down here at the foot, you do have a little bit of motion, but once again there is a ton of stuff going on, so it is more restricted. On the other side though, you do have swivel and a little bit of pivot side to side. Just wrapping up on the Iron Man Mark 1 by ZD Toys. Now going into this video I was really excited. It's the final figure in the lineup and arguably the most complicated to translate well into plastic format. Have they done an amazing job? For the most part I think yes. Now you're probably sitting there thinking, Justin, what on earth are you talking about? The articulation is shocking, he can barely move. And yes, you're absolutely right. If you want to go for the most posable version of the Mark 1, this ain't it. Go for the Figuarts version. He is far more posable, and the paint applications are, in my opinion, a little bit crisper. The same thing can be said for the sculpt work. This guy, though, is a great cost-effective way to get a pretty high-quality Mark 1 in the collection. I love the way he looks. The sculpt work is super crisp, the paint applications are gorgeous, he's suitably metallic, the effect pieces are great. Yes, he is lacking when it comes to articulation, but the suit is incredibly bulky. It's what they had to work with. They had this big chunky robot, and they don't have an infinite budget to make pull-out joints and extra bits and pieces that can move out of the way, so they had to work with what they had at their disposal, and in saying that, I still think this guy is a worthy addition to the collection. He's not flawless, but he is an absolutely awesome piece. Now I got mine from toyswonderland.com. Link for that is down in the description below. They have 12-month installment plans and an awesome reward system. While you are down there, why not check out the link to 6 Scale Network, the Facebook group. Come along, chat figures, share photos of your collection, and of course, see what's coming up next on the channel. Like, comment, and subscribe, and we'll catch you in the next video.